I paid $58 for this broken Xbox mini fridge and $341 for this broken Juggernog mini fridge. I don't know what's wrong with them, so let's start with the broken Xbox mini fridge and see if we can figure out what's wrong. This video is sponsored by iFixit, more on them in a minute. So let's plug it in, and it's plugged in, no light. Okay, and no light when we turn it on either. Okay, we just get no power on this Xbox mini fridge. Oh, we do have a light up here though. Maybe it just takes a minute to start up. So I'm not sure what these buttons do. They don't do anything at all. They don't make any noise or anything. There's no fan or anything coming on either. I'm not sure what that means. I think what it means for me is it's time to take it apart. Now, I don't see any screws on the outside of this thing. No screws on the back, no screws on the bottom. So I'm guessing that we need to remove these two screws, Then I'm guessing this middle green part comes out, but I don't know for sure. Let's try and remove those screws and see what happens. Okay, and here we have some wires going through. I don't see any connector there or any way to disconnect those wires, so let's remove these two screws and see if we can figure that out. And still no connector. Okay, and now let's remove these screws in here. See if that'll help us get into this thing. Okay, here we go. So we've got a fan in here and a heat sink in here. When we turn it on, the fan doesn't spin at all, so we've got something to worry about there. Also, this whole thing just doesn't want to come out. I'm thinking, it looks like there's a little gap right there and right there. So I'm thinking maybe we need to start prying on this thing and see if we can get this green piece to come out at all. It's more difficult since I have to hold this door open. And after all of that, I was way off. There's actually little plugs right here. So I got to figure out how to get these things out of here though. They're kind of press fit. I might actually just burn a hole through the middle so I can get the plug out and the screw out, and then I can just put a like a little black plug or a black screw cover over this, similar to like this one right here. You just put that right on there, and theoretically that would at least make it look okay. Now there was a post on Reddit where I saw somebody took a hot glue gun and glued onto this, and then they were able to pull that out. Unfortunately, I don't have a hot glue gun here. You'd think I would, but I don't. So what you'll see me do next is use a hot soldering iron to just melt some of the plastic right in the middle. I don't recommend doing this. It's not the best thing for your soldering iron, but if you do decide to do something like this, or anytime you get plastic on your iron, make sure and clean it off really well, because solder isn't gonna stick to a soldering iron that's got a bunch of melted plastic on it. And now with that hole in it, let's see, oh, there we go. So there's almost a little slot right there that you can almost get something down in, but it's just too tight of a fit to get anything really down in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that with the rest of these, and then we'll remove all the 4 screws, and then we should be able to take this top piece off. And then the top just pops right off. So here we have the main board where the main power comes in right over here, and then there should be DC power that comes in right over here. So I'm gonna plug this in. Let's see what happens. Let's check for power. We should have AC power over here, and we do. We have 122 volts. That's what we need. Let's check for DC power. We have 0 volts. Oh, 12 volts. So this whole board seems to be working correctly. Let's try and power it on again. Okay, and nothing happens. Okay, so that's what the front button does, but we still have no fan at all. So is it a problem on this board down here? So the other possibility here is that we could just have a bad fan, but also we don't get a green light on the back of it that I think is supposed to indicate that it's turned on. So I'm gonna remove this board down here, and let's take a closer look at that and see if we can find any problems with it. Now, in order to get that button board off, we need to remove this sticker so we can remove the screws on each side of the power button. So let's do that now. We need to remove it in a way where we make sure that we don't damage it. Good so far. Okay. Come on, got it. Now just a few more screws and we'll have it off. And with this little board out, there are several things that kind of worry me here. We've got some, I don't know, it looks like kind of some messed up soldering over here. There's a burn spot right here on this trace right here. It looks like that could be the main issue because these are the power in pins right here. And this trace goes over here to the switch. So as far as I can tell, the switch, when you turn it on, it probably connects this contact with this contact. But with no power going to this, it's not going to be able to put power to any of the things that need power over here. Now there is a little bit of power. These red wires right here, I'm guessing these red wires go to like the light and the switch on the front of the Xbox mini fridge. But I'm guessing this one right here probably goes to the fan. And with this damaged trace right here, there's no way for power to go through the switch and onto what I'm guessing is the fan right over here. So let's test our theory. I'm going to use Scotty to determine whether this switch is good and whether it is a switch problem or a problem with that little tiny trace on this board. And we're currently in resistance mode. So I'm going to put one probe over here and one probe right before where this trace is damaged, right here. And we do not get a beep. If this circuit was connected, then we would have a beep right there. So automatically we know that it is a problem right here on this burn trace. So let's get that fixed up. So first I'm going to remove some of the solder mask. The solder mask is the green stuff. The solder mask just protects all of the metal underneath from touching things that it's not supposed to. Now once I have the solder mask removed, that gives me a place to connect a wire. I will connect a wire from the circuit trace onto this pin right here, and that will make a good connection, which means that power will now be able to go from the power pin to the switch. Okay, and now with one probe here, one probe down here, let's turn the switch on and see if we get a beep. Okay, and there we go. So now there is continuity between this point and this point. When the switch is turned on, this I believe turns the fan on. Let's plug it in and see if it does. And we're plugged in. Let's see if we have any explosions. Okay, we have a fan. We have a light even. That might have fixed this one. The light seems kind of dim, so I need to do a little more work there, see if there's anything I'm missing, but the fan is definitely working really well. All right, and now with the switch mounted in here, let's see how bright this light is when we turn it on. Oh, there we go. That's actually not bad. Yeah. I think that's actually normal. I was worried it was a little too dim, but I think it is good to go. And with the Xbox mini fridge all figured out, let's move on to the Juggernog mini fridge. Okay, now I'm gonna plug in the Juggernog fridge and let's see what happens. I think it's supposed to make noise when I open it. It does not. We have a blue light back here. I don't know if that's good or bad. I would assume that it's good. I would assume that means that it's working, but it is clearly not working. Okay, and now it's time to take this one apart too. This one is much easier to get apart, it looks like. We've just got these 6 screws. As you probably noticed, I'm using an iFixit ProTech toolkit. I love these iFixit ProTech toolkits because they have almost all the bits that you might need for stuff like this. And that's just the bit and driver set. They actually come in a case and they have a whole bunch of other tools included as well. They've got all these pry tools, they've got tweezers, they've got these guys. If you've watched any of my videos taking apart like phone screens, these are super good to get under the adhesive and between the screen and the frame of the phone. So I love having a bunch of those. And then we also have more pry tools and a suction cup over here. Now, the other great thing about iFixit tools is they're 100% guaranteed. So if you have any problems with these bits, let's say you use one of these bits and eventually it starts wearing down a little bit and doesn't unscrew screws very well, you can just email iFixit and they will send you out another one. Their warranty is that good. And one of the best things about iFixit is they're huge supporters of the right to repair. For anyone who doesn't know, manufacturers of electronic devices don't want you to fix your stuff. So iFixit and various other companies and organizations are working to change that. By buying things through iFixit, you're supporting the right to repair, which I love and I feel very passionately about. If you're looking for tools, if you're looking for parts for your electronic devices, or if you need a guide to help you figure out what's wrong with your electronic device or tear it down, go to ifixit.com/TronicsFix. Now let's see if we can get this fridge taken apart and figure out what's wrong with it. Okay, does this just lift off? No, it doesn't. That would obviously be too easy. Oh, here we go. Yeah, it does. Well, that's easy. So here's the little switch. Here's the power cable. The fan is super dirty, so is the heatsink. So I'm gonna remove this board so I can test the points on the underside of it and see if we can figure out what exactly might be going on here. Now before we do that, we can actually test the fan right here. I can plug it in here and then we can just probe that connector there. Okay, we get a little bit of a light. Now we're gonna check the voltage down here. And we have 0.8 volts. That is not enough voltage to do anything. What do we have over here? 1.2. So far, we don't even have enough voltage coming in to do really anything. Okay, I'm gonna have to remove those screws now so we can take a look at the bottom of the board. Okay, so the first thing we need to check is if we have power here. We should have 9 volts coming in from the power supply, once we plug it in, of course. We have 0.8 volts. Okay, maybe we just found our problem. Let's just check this power supply connector directly. See what we have here. Oh, 1.2, 1.3 volts max. This thing should be putting out 9 volts. Okay, so the first problem on this one is that we don't have enough voltage even coming into the fridge to turn the fan on. So I'm gonna get a benchtop power supply plugged in so we can put in the correct amount of voltage, and then let's see if this thing powers up how it should. Now before we get too serious on testing this thing, I want to give this fan and heatsink a good cleaning just to make sure these are ready to go. These are both very dirty, so I wanna make sure that we get this taken care of. Now these fridges I didn't buy because I wanted to make a profit. I bought them because I thought they'd make an interesting video. That being said, I paid $58 for the Xbox fridge, and it goes on eBay used for about $100 to $130. The Juggernog fridge I paid $341 for, and they go anywhere from $450 to $650 on eBay. So even though I didn't buy these to make a profit, I could probably at least get my money back out of them. Now we have a nice clean fan, a nice clean heatsink. We've got our external power supply plugged in right here. It is supplying 9 volts and 3 amps. Let's just verify that to make sure we're getting that voltage here. And there we go, we have 9 volts. So now let's turn on the switch and see what happens. Oh, look at this. We've got the nice blue light, and then we have the fan running as well. So now we know this AC adapter is not putting out the voltage it should. And I also noticed that it's got some cracks right here. So I'm kind of wondering what's going on inside here. And I say we open it up and check it out. Now I do have to say these are not made to be taken apart. So I never recommend doing something like this because it's kind of a waste of time. Got it. Something strange. It's not burn marks, but I mean, here's the first problem. These two capacitors right here are all bulged out. I don't see anything on this that makes it look like anything's burned out or anything. The real unfortunate thing about this is that these aren't made to be fixed. Like there's no way I can get this back together now. And if I replace these capacitors right here, this power supply would likely work again. But because number one, they use cheap capacitors, and number two, they made an AC adapter that's not made to be taken apart. This thing is just trash, and I have to buy a new one just because they didn't want me in here fixing this one. So we started out this video with 2 broken mini fridges. We are able to fix both of them, and now these guys can go on to live a nice, happy, healthy life. If you like this type of video, you'll probably like the video where I bought a broken Xbox original Halo Special Edition and I tried to fix it. I'll leave a link for that right up on your screen now so you can come hang out with me over there and see if I could. Thank you again to iFixit for sponsoring this video. Go to ifixit.com/TronicsFix if you want to check them out. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you have a good one.